Welcome to An Aries and Pisces Walk Into a Coffee Shop, the podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Bridget, she, her.
And I'm Tiffany, she, her. This is a podcast where two friends let go of perfectionism and talk unedited.
This is the way. You might
Sure
have to
is.
take that earring off, though.
Oh no, is it
It's making
affecting audio?
a staticky sound when it
Yeah, this was
touches.
my attempt at feeling like a human. That's okay.
I wanted to put my earrings on, but then I was like, nope, podcast day is no dangly earrings day.
Obviously, I never wear dangly earrings during podcasts. That's the first time that's happened. Okay, better?
Yeah.
We've done this before. It's fine.
A few times. Just a few. Just a few. Hello.
Hello. I had another experience of someone talking about our podcast in public and me having a split second where I forgot that we have a podcast.
Oh.
Well, because they were like, oh, and they do podcasting. And I was just like, what are we talking about?
Certainly
for
not
just
me.
a second. And then I was like, oh, that's right. I do that.
Oh, that's fun. I don't know that I've had the opportunity to hear someone mention it. No, that's not correct. I did. Wait, did I? No, never mind. It was the other way around. I mentioned the podcast and I think I thought that they knew about it, but they didn't.
Oh, so you got to tell someone that you're doing this cool thing.
Yes, and they were really excited. Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice experience to have.
Yeah.
Good job, Bridget.
Thank you. Thanks. We're out here doing this stuff and the things.
We sure are trying. I actually had like a pretty full week and I was really proud of myself because I spent a couple of weeks feeling very out of sorts and 1 week just not very functional at all. And then this week I was just like, you know what? I deserve to be in public. So I put on lipstick multiple times this week and went out in the public and socialized.
Very nice.
Yeah, I was very proud of it. A couple of the things that I did were just like very safe. Like, I know this person, we are friends, and I'm going to be in a space where there's going to be a lot of familiar faces. This is okay. And then yesterday I was very brave and went to a space that I was not familiar with on my own, not knowing if I was going to know anyone there. And I made 2 new friends.
Wow. Look at you. Okay. I'm living for this.
I'm like, yeah, I'm a full-grown adult that can go in public and talk to strangers and have a good conversation.
What kind of place were you at?
It was this bar that is wizard themed, which I thought was going to be I thought it was going to be tacky, and it ended up being great. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's like some shticky stuff, of course.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a cocktail, but they looked interesting, but everyone that did get a cocktail talked about how sugary they were, so I was glad I didn't get one, but they looked really cool. But the ambiance was fun. Like, I thought it was going to be a little bit too like slick and shiny, but it felt more like Cottage Wizard.
Okay.
So I liked it. The ambiance was cool. And it was one of those places where it was like maximalism. So every time you look somewhere and then you looked back, you notice something different. And I love that.
And there was cool.
It was. And there was one room. I love this, but I know a lot of people would drive them nuts. But it was covered in like frames and they were all crooked. And I was like, this is my space. Like, this was made for me.
Wow.
And then it made me wonder, why have I been hanging everything straight for all this time? Like when I looked at that, just like a whole room full of walls of just crooked frames, I was like, oh, this brings me joy. And I've just been over here stressing out in my own home, trying to hang things so that they're level. For what? For who? I don't know.
This is fascinating.
I knew you would like it and understand.
It's so fascinating. I think because I don't know how I would feel.
Yeah.
I think that I would freak out.
Yeah, a lot of people would. And I didn't know I was going to be excited about it. But I knew you would understand the, wait, why have I never thought to just do
Hmm.
it differently?
I want to see it so bad.
It's so good.
I want to
I
see
love
it
it.
so bad.
I should have taken a photo. I didn't though. I was just, because that's not the room we were, it's like a big place and there's like multiple like sections of it. And so there's like these little alcoves. It actually used to be an old bank, to give you an
Mm.
idea. So they like, it was a bank and now they converted the entire thing into this bar. So there's like a vault room and then there's like
Ooh.
that side room with all the frames. But then there's a big open space and then there's like tinier room off in the back. So it was really cool. And as I was walking, so I went for an event that I won tickets to, and then I went straight to the room that it was in. And then on the way out, I like looked around to see, but I didn't
Mm.
think to take any photos. But I bet there are some online because it's like I don't know if chain is the right word. There's multiple
Oh,
locations in
okay.
different cities.
Like a franchise,
Oh, that's
maybe?
probably a better word, maybe. I'm not sure what the business term for it would be. But I did see that they had multiples in different cities. So I bet there's
Mm.
some thematic through lines to the other one. So I bet there's photos online and I could send you. But I really enjoyed it. And I didn't know that I know that I'm not typically super bothered by things being crooked. Like when I'm out and about, I've been with friends or acquaintances that are like, I'm so sorry, I can't concentrate on this conversation until I go fix that. And like went to go like in a public space, been like, I need to fix this frame. And that I can't be bothered. That can't be me. I'll notice that it's crooked, but I don't, that's not so distracting.
Hmm.
I have other things that are distracting. That's not one of them. But even that, it never occurred to me that I would be okay with my own things being crooked. You know what I think it is? As I'm talking out loud, it was so obviously obvious that that's what they were
Hmm.
doing.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't, oh, we
Like a mistake.
accidentally hung this crooked.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's why I was freaking out in my own home, thinking like,
Hmm.
oh, I don't want it to look a little off because that would bother me. But then it never occurred to me to just swing in the other direction and just make everything super off.
Hmm.
So now I think I'm gonna, at least in one section,
Oh.
because I have my ocean wall that I haven't put up yet. It's like all of the art I've collected or gifted over the years that are like ocean themed. Um, and in my old apartment, I just kind of, because I'm a fan of hanging things like in clusters. And so I did that, but I was so stressed out about making the clusters like all
Mm.
straight in my old
Hmm.
apartment. And I'm like, what if I didn't? And I just let
Hmm.
everything be a little off kilter. I don't
Hmm.
know if I can do it, but I'll report back if I do.
I am uh, I'm here for this development in this story. So, yes, please let me know.
It feels like the concept that we talked about of microdosing chaos.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It feels like that.
Yeah. I still think about that every time I take out an ice cube.
I'm so pleased to
Every
hear
time.
that.
But I guess this is interesting. I don't know. So I just have these two little like silicone ice cube trays,
Hmm.
and I don't use ice cubes that much in the
Yeah.
winter. So I don't fill them up all the way. I only fill up like like it's like six ice cubes at a time. and because I'm only using like one ice cube a day.
This is so interesting. So you have an ice cube tray, but
Yes.
you only fill up some of them.
Yeah.
This
Because
is
I
a
know that
different
I'm not
microdosing chaos. That
because
actually,
I'm not going to like use them, and I don't want them to get like, like stale in the freezer, whatever that is. Like,
I don't
so
know why, but that makes me upset. Like the idea that I wouldn't fill the whole tray. Now that's interesting. I need to unpack that. I'm like, why is that so upsetting to me? Because I love the chaos of just like choosing the random cubes when I punch them out
mhm.
of the container. And
Mhm.
I have one of those ones that looks like honeycomb. So it's
Mhm.
even more satisfying to me for some reason. Having these like random honeycomb missing. But the idea of like, okay, all the ice cubes are gone and I'm gonna refill the ice cube tray and not making sure that they're all filled is challenging. And I didn't know that about me until you
That's
just said
funny.
that.
That's funny. Cuz I didn't even think twice about it, because in my brain I was like, "Oh, I don't want like yucky ice cubes. So I don't want them to be in here for a long time because I'm not using them, and I'm the only one that's using ice, and
Mm-hmm.
I put like one ice cube in my smoothie every day, so like I don't want that many, just like sitting around. But my thought was, in the just like popping out a random one, I'm like, well, I don't have that many opportunities because over half of the thing's already empty. So at this point, it doesn't really even look like I'm
Oh,
doing
right.
anything like
Yeah.
chaotic. But like in your mind, you're like, oh my God, you're like, this is over the top.
Yeah, it felt like you took the chaos to a different level that I hadn't considered. But also, like, I think I go through more ice than you. I don't use it all the time, but I really like doing like mocktails at home. Like I think it's a sensory seeking thing where I'm just like, "Ooh, I'm going to make myself like something fancy with soda
I
water."
wish that I could do that. I wish that please go on. I'm living vicariously through your
Well, no, that's
mocktail.
it. So when I like do a little concoction, I normally throw in a couple of ice cubes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't normally like things super cold, so I'm not doing like the full, shaker thing. But like, I throw like, a few of those smaller hexagon ice cubes in when I do that. And I do that regularly enough that it never. Oh, and I boil eggs. I do soft boiled eggs a lot.
Mm.
So I throw ice cubes to like cool them down quickly when I'm
Mm-hmm.
like making those. So yeah, I go through my ice, I think, faster than you. So it never occurred to me like, oh, this is just going to be sitting in here forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I always fill it up all the way. Hmm. I don't know why that's so challenging to me because I was just. So what just happened, what you just witnessed, was me trying to imagine in my head the feeling I would have if I were to just fill
Oh,
up part of it. And I don't know what my
interesting.
face looked like, but something horrible happened in my chest. I don't like it. I do not like that.
Mm.
And I can't tell you why.
Interesting.
I'm gonna let that sit. I will
Mm-hmm.
report back if anything comes up.
I feel like we're just like little like investigator reporters. Like
Yeah.
earlier when I was like, I'm interested in the development of this story. Like I feel like it's like I'm gonna be like tuning into this channel for a news report.
I think that's why we're doing this. We're so curious.
Oh, that's so good. I think that is one of my words that I want to hang on to this year. Curious. It just came up this week in therapy. Also, I just want to say this out loud so I can get it out of me. But this is like my like first foray back into what feels like real life after like 2 weeks of COVID, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
still like fuzzy and feeling like, oh my God, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, what am I doing right now? Like, can I
Yeah.
do? I'm like, what? Like,
Mm-hmm. I'm because I felt very similarly the last time COVID struck me down. It was like weeks of that, of just feeling fuzzy, I think was a really good word for it. I was using foggy a lot
mm,
because it did feel very surreal and weird. And yeah, doing things that I normally did before I got sick felt so far away. Like 2 weeks doesn't sound like a long time,
hmm,
but when you're in it, it's
yeah,
like a lifetime.
yeah,
Time morphed when I was sick.
yeah. It doesn't like I'm having a really hard time getting back into things. Like, I haven't gone on a walk
Mm.
into I don't know. Is 2 weeks the right amount of time? I don't even know. Like, I'm like, it just all feels so weird.
I
And
did
like,
this too.
I think like it was just like for 1 week, I missed my workouts
Mm.
and like weightlifting. And so that would have been only 2 times, like on Wednesday and Thursday, I missed it. But then on this Wednesday, when I felt well enough to be like, I'm just still going to do the routine, I'll just do a very little bit and see, just to like get myself moving. But even that felt like it felt impossible to like get back into it. And I was like, I didn't even miss like that much. like,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I
like,
remember feeling that way, and I don't have as strong of a routine as you. So I can't only imagine that it felt doubly hard for someone like you who does have a really strong routine that you've built for yourself.
yeah, now I feel like I just don't go on walks anymore. And
You
that
do.
is
You just
thanks.
haven't for a bit.
Thank you.
Now I get it. You're doing the thing that I do where it's the black and white thinking. So like sorry. I'm laughing at me cuz like it sounds, I don't know how to put it without it sounding insane. But like yoga is the perfect example, and I think I've even talked about it here, that I go through phases where like if I stop doing yoga for a time, it's like I've never done yoga before in my life. In my head, I'm just
Mhm.
like, well, I'm just not a person that does yoga, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's insane because
Yeah.
the way I've integrated the yoga and the way of thinking in my everyday life, like when I
Yes.
really allow myself to be honest, I'm like, no, I'm doing yoga every day. I'm just not always getting to the mat for a full half hour or an hour session. The way
Right.
I breathe, the way I move, like I do stretches and breathing every day. It's very
Uh-huh.
yogic.
Uh-huh.
But if I don't get to the mat, it's like
Doesn't
I've
count.
decided I'm a failure
Hmm.
and I can't say I do yoga because I haven't done it for a few days or a week or a month or whatever. And it happens to be.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. Nailed it. I don't think that sounds insane. I think that sounds spot on.
But when you say it out loud, it's like, oh, I'm a person that doesn't go on walks anymore. Or I'm a person that doesn't walk. Like, well, no. Like,
just like just like oh god, I don't know. We've talked about this, but when you called me athletic at one point and I was like, "The fuck?" I was like, "Excuse me?"
you were doing jumps. You
Like
had a helmet on.
at that point, like I wouldn't even have called myself like a roller skater, you know?
That
Like
is
that
so
was
silly.
when like I got a strap for my skates to carry my
Mm-hmm.
skates, and I wanted to take pictures of it and post it because it's gorgeous. And I found myself thinking like, oh my god, who am I to do this, to show this off, to be like, I'm not a roller skater, like I'm not,
Mm-hmm. Yes. I also do that to me, which is insane because I'd never do it to you. That's what I think what I meant by how it sounds insane. Because
like
when I,
when you
like,
like we with you and dancing. I know we've had this
what do you
conversation
mean?
before.
It's my turn.
Yeah, yeah. I like when I think Tiffany, I think Tiffany dances.
Hmm.
Yeah. All the time,
Yeah.
forever. Like that's just part of you.
And it's so funny. I think that I do the similar thing with like the yoga thing with dance. Like I I dance most days, like around my house, in the kitchen. Like I it's part of how I process things or like
Mhm.
kill time in between waiting for stuff because that is just painful to have to wait for things. So like boiling water, I'm not staring at it. I'm like dancing off to the side, doing something else. And yet I do have this like block in my head that if I'm not like taking a class or like setting aside, like it's the the goalpost moves.
Mhm.
It's not real unless it looks like this.
Yes.
And then even when it looks like that, I'll find a way to move it.
Yeah. Ugh, do you know what I realized yesterday as I was laying on the couch because I was so fuzzy that I couldn't be anything other than horizontal?
Sure.
Um, as I was also hanging on to my affirmation for the week, when I rest, I receive. I'd
Mm-hmm.
keep just repeating that over and over again to let the voices in my head know that it was okay for me to lay down.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that in, oh my God, I forget what we were just talking about. I'm just
About
gonna keep
how
going. Yeah, go. Yeah, what?
we were talking about the ways in which we move the goalpost.
Yes. Okay. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I'm still there.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about the like living in the present moment and how that has been a big thing that I have been working on. And it like occurred to me that I was like, oh, I haven't truly been doing that. Like I still get I'm still like finding myself getting so caught up in the goalpost moving, right? In the goal.
Yes.
Like and I'm not there yet and I'm never going to get there. And oh, I need to be there right now and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
there right now and all of that. And at the same time also trying to hold on to the trust the process. It's the journey. Let it unfold as it unfolds. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And my therapist pointed out that, well, Bridget, what are you going to do with that? It sounds like your answer is to be in the present moment. And I was like, motherfucker, yeah, you're right. But I was realizing, like, it just like hit me that I was like, oh, I haven't fully been here in this present moment and staying in this present moment because I don't want to feel what's in this present moment. Like, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
feel that disappointment in myself or the grief or the sadness or the like whatever it is. So I was like, oh, what I've been doing is acknowledging the present circumstance and being like, okay, yeah, here I am. And then
Mm-hmm.
being like, what are all those goals and shit? Let's go. And I'm
Mm,
like, oh,
right.
I'm not giving myself the time to actually be in and feel in and I was like, what if getting back to being curious, right? What if I put all those goals aside, like put them on pause? What if I was like, any goals, any whatever, any wishes, dreams, hopes, all of that stuff? What if I literally just say, like, right now, I'm not working towards anything? What if I'm just going to be where I am?
Uh-huh. And it's okay. Because that's what I've been thinking about. The
Holy
what if
moly.
right now what I'm
Isn't,
doing
yeah, is okay.
is just fine.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that
The
look.
horror. I just got
Yeah.
chills.
Yeah. It feels it. Yeah. The horror, the chills, and it sounds so made up. Like my Alexa's talking to me.
Oh.
I'm back.
Okay.
I forgot I set an alarm to check on my sourdough starter the other day and I
Oh
never
my god,
turned
you
it
have a
off.
sourdough starter?
I'm trying, but
Okay.
no, it hasn't started.
Well, also keep me updated with that too, please.
Or rather, it started and then it stopped. But my niece said that that happened to her too. So because my niece has successfully made multiple sourdough starters. I'm so
Oh,
proud. And she's been giving me tips and tricks. So I'm trying.
okay.
Um, this is my second go. My first go, I don't know what happened. Maybe it would have been fine, but I got suspicious of it and started over.
Mm,
But this batch, like, I don't feel suspicious about it, but it's not doing what I thought it was going to. But my niece has assured me that this sometimes happens and I have to be patient, which I don't love.
okay.
And it's also hard because it feels like a commitment that I'm not sure I'm ready for. Thus the
Good
alarm
thing.
setting.
Yeah, good thing though. Stakes are very low, Tiffany, with this commitment.
That's what I told myself to get
Yeah,
myself to do it,
yeah.
because I've been wanting to do this for years and I haven't. And then my niece inspired me because she was like, well, she did it and then it was successful, and she's been making bread and doing all these really cool recipes with like the cast off sourdough and sending us pictures. And I'm just like, I want that for me.
Uh,
So I'm trying it again.
good. Do you need to set yourself another timer
No, I
for
already
late?
checked it today. I
Okay.
just had it set so I wouldn't forget, but I did a good job and remembered. But then I never turned off the repeating alarm. We're still figuring out a schedule. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
good at
yeah.
schedules.
But you're getting there, huh? You're
I'm
practicing.
practicing them.
Yeah,
Yeah. I did
I
have a
think
little
that's
moment
good.
of celebration yesterday where I was able to realize that I struggle with being on time a lot, and I'm still struggling with that, but I am doing better than I have been. And more often than not, I'm more on time than I am late.
Look at you.
Did I look proud? Or did I look embarrassed?
I'm not sure that I could describe that. It was like if you ask like a little kid in school, like how'd you do? How'd you feel about that? Good, we're gonna take your picture, smile. And they're just like,
You know what? Yeah, that's accurate. It's embarrassment, but also like it's both. I'm proud and I'm embarrassed because I do feel like a little kid. I'm a grown woman, and I'm like, I'm starting to be on time sometimes.
Listen, that's a hard thing. Like I literally just made a YouTube video that it's not coming out yet for a bit. But where I am talking about the things that I'm using to like make systems for myself for this exact fucking thing. Because that was me always like, running late and trying to figure out like how to juggle be having needing to be like all these different places and like all that fucking like anxiety that comes from trying to like leave and get somewhere and like
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's not easy. We're
It's
adults, but that
not.
doesn't mean that just because you're an adult something's easy.
Yeah, I think I had this false belief that I'm still unraveling, that there would be a time where things would click in a way that I would have it figured out. And I just wouldn't be who I am anymore. I'd be a different, more, uh, less chaotic. But it's so funny when I say things like this because, like, when I said that, I didn't like the feeling in my mouth. The idea of being chaotic sounds fun to me when I think about other people. I want both. I want to be a fun chaos demon, but so put together that no one can tell me anything. What?
Do you know, I see that. I see that, and I think that it looks different than we think that it should look. And that's because that's something that I'm unraveling, right? The thing of I want to feel put together, right? I want to feel like I've got it figured out. But I think that that looks and feels one way, but it actually is something completely different.
Yes, this is a good point.
I think it, for me, it's going back to that conversation we've had before about confidence. Of like, I thought that confidence was
Oh.
that you've always got it figured out. You always feel
Mhm.
good about what you're doing. You always like know that you can do it and you do well and you believe in yourself and all this. No, confidence is just I I'm capable of trying this right now. Like I'm scared of it, but I'm going to give it a go and see what happens and I believe that I'm like, you know, I've got what I need to do it right now and try it. I'm like that's
Mhm.
not what I thought confidence was.
Right.
Like uh so yeah, I think like you can be like a fun chaotic thing and be like, yeah, and I'm late, so what? And really not care about it, right? Or you could be like, yeah, I'm a super chaotic person and I'm on time sometimes. And and it's that like owning of it, right? It's that like letting go of the shame around it, I think.
Yeah, that's the really hard part
Yeah.
for me. I I still really struggle with that shame piece because it's also related to that balance metaphor. Like if the goal is to be balanced, you're not always going to
Mm-hmm.
feel the calm of balance because there's micro adjustments you have to make all the time to account for a myriad of things to keep the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you fall, like you get caught off balance. It doesn't mean that you'll never be balanced again or you're bad at balancing. It's just the literal nature of the thing. And I think I'm getting better at accepting, like, okay, the world is not ending because I have to recalibrate. But then there's that shame piece where I do find myself frustrated when I'm struggling because I think I keep on trying to wait for the time in which, to use your example, I'm late and I don't care so deeply because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean anything about who I am as a person
Mm-hmm.
and what I value. Because, like, I think, oh, is this true? I'm wondering if it's this idea that I'm so worried about what other people will think about me being late that it feels like I have to be so hard on myself first so no one else can say
Mm-hmm.
anything to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, people are way nicer to me than I am to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna unpack that later too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let that just
Yeah,
sit in.
this sounds like all the big stuff I've been working on and like letting go a lot of that uh feeling like shameful and like guilty and like stuff like that. And also what I've been working with is letting go of the past. And that was another thing that I
Mm.
thought looked and meant a certain thing or way that I'm like, oh, actually, I'm finding that it's completely different. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
as I'm taking your example of, oh, I've got cat hair in my mouth.
Of course,
Surprise. How's it just end up there?
because it just
It's just
sifts through the
everywhere.
air.
It's everywhere. Um, so like as I am showing up to an event with people and like showing up late and I am feeling terrible about myself, right? Because but like where is that all coming from? That's all coming from all of the things that I've picked up in my past that I then believe about myself that I'm
Mm-hmm.
carrying with me to now. And what I need to do is like let go of those beliefs that you just said, right? Like I think that these people are thinking this way about me. Well, that's the thing I need to let go of. And that's the past. Because in the past, at some point, you determined, oh, I believe this about myself because
Mm-hmm.
of whatever happened. And I'm like, that's not how I thought that you let go of the past. it all seems crazy in my head too. Of like, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what this means.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it meant like, oh, let go of the past. Like you're like just like thinking about the past all the time and like all like but but no, it's really it's these like from the past we determine these internal beliefs about ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then in situations now that's like a thing like playing in our heads that's not
Right.
going well. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, that's what I need to let go of, and that's what letting go of the past is.
Right, because it's the internal
Yeah, it's
control
all
versus
fucking internal.
external. Because if you just keep telling yourself, oh, let go of the past, there's a very logical part of you that's like, well, that's stupid because people can still think that about you.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have to think about it because it can still happen. And like in the present, there could be someone that thinks something negative because you were late and like makes a judgment about you.
But that has nothing to do with
Exactly.
everything that has happened. It's a brand
Precisely
new
it.
situation.
Yeah. And if
And we
you
don't
have
know. Like,
yeah, and if you let go of that internal thing, if that happens to you, it's just like, oh, this person has some preconceived notions.
yeah,
And that
they
has nothing
have
to do with me.
they have their own things that they're carrying with them, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everything that we encounter is a brand new experience, but we are looking at it like clouded from all this stuff from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm holding on to the curiosity. Can I look at each new thing or each thing that's happening right now curious, like what's gonna happen, because we really don't know. We think we know because things feel familiar, but we really
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
No. And our brains are so good at being loud with the scenarios of what if
Yeah.
and like the worst case
Mm-hmm.
scenario. So I've been practicing that thing of opposite where like, okay, well, if I'm going to allow myself to go down the rabbit hole of, and I say allow myself, that's not necessarily true. If I'm in the rabbit hole, I just find myself there
Mm-hmm.
of thinking, okay, this is going to work out worst case scenario or uncomfortable scenario, whatever it is. And then when I catch myself doing it, I'm like, all right, we have to set some intentional time and think about what if it goes great?
Mm-hmm.
What if it goes better than you can imagine? Balance.
That is a practice. That's the like gold star
Mm.
practice. Like, yeah, and that's like what I have been practicing of the quit like just endlessly thinking about and talking about all my problems. Instead, think and talk about what I actually like want, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, my fucking battery died the other day, and I have just been like, it's just been like dread and anxiety, like
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, right? All of the inconveniences of not having a car, and what if it doesn't get fixed, and what if this is it, and all of that. And then I'm like, okay, Bridget, those are all your problems, and a lot of problems that don't even exist yet, um, may never exist. So I'm like, okay, well, what if I don't want all these problems, what do I want? What am I actually looking for? I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, well, like my mom's gonna come over and we're gonna jump the battery, and what would I hope for in this situation? Oh, then my battery works fine. It gets charged and my car is just fine, for a while. And I get to just drive it and pretend like, like nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, I guess that's what I'm going to try to hold on to and keep thinking about, because because it's the same situation. I right now am in the same situation of I have a car with a dead battery. Now, whether I'm thinking about all of those problems
Mm-hmm.
that don't exist, or whether I'm thinking about, yay, I'm excited for when my battery's up and running again.
Yep.
There are fucking fireworks again. What did I do? I did like thumbs up, gave me fireworks. What is this?
I don't know, but it always happens to you.
Why? And just like recently, what is happening? I'm gonna
I
like,
forgot
I
to
just
look
did
that
it
up.
again. It didn't like, Ugh, I didn't look it up either. But anyway, so it's like, we're going into all of these situations and it's the same exact situation, but we get to choose what we're going to do with it, how we're going to look at it. Um, and that feels completely different inside
It does.
to think about things in that way. And it also feels insane.
Yeah.
Like insane in a way of like, I'm like, what am I doing thinking like this? Especially if I go to say it out loud.
Oh, tell me
Because
about that.
well, if I was gonna be like, I don't know, like telling Luke about my car
Mm-hmm.
and be like, oh my god, like my battery died again. I didn't get to go here. Like I'm worried about this and I'm worried about this and well, instead I'm like, okay, no, I'm not continuing those conversations. So instead, what I'm gonna be like is like, hey, my battery died. I'm really looking forward to when my battery's running again and I can drive my car. That's a
Mm.
whole different conversation. And that's a whole different, like, when I first started doing this, I'm like, I sound nuts because I just keep saying the way that I'm wording it is that I'm looking forward to.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
so if I was like, having really bad, like, digestive stuff, like after dinner, I'd be like, oh my God, like I'm so bloated. I'm in a lot of pain right now. I'm really uncomfortable. I'm having a hard time. I'm like, nope, that's not what it is anymore, Bridget. The conversation, what am I looking for out of this? What would I hope for? I'm like, okay, well, um, our keyword is pineapples.
Right.
So pineapples for like when something's going on. So I can at least be like, hey, pineapples. And he knows that that means like I'm having some kind of discomfort or pain somewhere. And I at least want to acknowledge it. But then the conversation that I'm going to have sounds like something like I'm looking forward to, like when I feel good after I eat or like when I've digested my food. And like it's like I'm like saying things like that don't sound like they're not rolling off the tongue. They're not
Right.
what I like want to say or feel like is just gonna just like come out. Like to just be like all the time being like I'm looking forward to like like I don't know. It's weird.
It's because it's disrupting a pattern of thinking, oh, this is always going to be this way, and instead honoring that things are changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that I don't feel good right now and I'm always going to feel bad and I'm always going to have this issue and I'm worried about feeling bad now because it feels like I'm going to be feeling bad forever. It's like, no, we get to acknowledge that things shift. And sometimes I don't feel bad and sometimes things do feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's not rolling off the tongue because it's like taking a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, a part of you logically knows that you'll probably feel bad again, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not just a static state of
Yeah.
feeling awful.
Right.
And that's really profound. Oh, it makes me think of that story about like the flexible branch where it's like you can like bend instead of like cracking and breaking over a thing.
Mm.
So instead of being really rigid in the thinking of like I feel bad and I have to,
Just be stuck in this
yeah.
forever. Like this is just where I am and that's it.
Mm-hmm. That's a hard practice. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm trying to think of ways in which I can maybe use that, like adopt different scripts. That's the word I want. Trying
Mm-hmm.
to think of scripts that I can use for
Mm-hmm.
myself to be like, maybe if I can think about it preemptively, then when I'm feeling bad in the moment about whatever pattern pops up,
Right.
I'll have a
Yeah.
stock answer
Yeah. And
that
that's
I can
and
use until it feels more natural.
yeah, and that's where the I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
it comes in. And sometimes it really feels like I'm like, oh, I'm stretching here. Like I'm
Yeah, because it feels made up.
yeah. Yeah. And because I think like gosh, just like that's just how a lot of people talk. And I
Mm-hmm.
notice it more and more now. And I've really been noticing like, oh, yep, I don't want to be in conversation like that. I don't want to be in conversation with those people. I don't,
Mm.
if that's the way that you're looking at the world, like, that's not the, you know, I've done enough of that. And I've determined that is not the way. And we are moving forward with some other things because I would like to look forward to things in my life now, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want that for you too.
Yeah.
And I also want a piece.
Yeah. I'll give you a piece.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can share it. Share it. Oh my God, my words. I wanted to say good cake. Share a slice of good cake.
That makes me so happy that you said that, because when I said I want a piece, you know what I was thinking? What I was
A
visualizing?
big chocolate cake.
Yeah. And I didn't say it, but I was thinking good cake because I saw the good cake that I visualized in my head. And then I was just like tucking that away from myself because I was like, Bridget wouldn't want to bite that.
But I'll feed it to you.
So lucky.